Hi everyone, welcome back to Ships at Sea. In today's video, what I'd like to do is just go through a quick guide of longline fishing. So I've done a few videos on this, but I thought I'd do a video just to pull together with all the different tips and hints that I've been told or that I've learned. So first thing we'll do is we'll start with buying the bait. So how much bait do we need? Basically for 1,000 hooks you would need a 20 kilogram block. So if you've got 2,500 hooks you would need 50 kilograms, which is 2.5 blocks. So on my Poseidon I can carry a maximum of 2,500 hooks. I would need 50 blocks of 20 kilogram. I carry a mixture of 2,500 and 1,000 hooks. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly get some bait. At the moment I don't think it matters the bait you buy. I don't think it affects the catch. Eventually it clearly is supposed to. So let's hold this down. We're not going to fully long line today, but I'll just grab 50, purchase, and then we'll just go to the boat and we'll just talk about baiting. Now one thing I have found out, I always used to think you could only bait the top buckets. So you can see I've got lots of 1,000 long lines, but I also have some 2,500 hooks at the bottom. Now if I want to bait them I actually can, and then I can select that bucket. So all we do is we go to the inventory. You've got our 50 mackerel, let's equip that, and all we do is we hover over it. If I see once, twice, and then it's used 2.5 packets up, and then if I want to take that I just select that bucket and it just drops out and we can put it on. So it does mean apart from that central column which you can't access, you can access every other bucket. So you do have a choice of being able to choose varying lengths of long line depending on what the habitat is like when you get there. If we look at the inventory, you can see I've got 47 and I've got one mackerel here, and this is representing the half. That's why it says 10 out of 20 kilos. That's a half. Now I will show you this because if I'm right, I don't believe that half will automatically get used up. So when I select the mackerel again, let's find another, there it is. Select, select, select. Go back to inventory and you can see now I have two halves, so that's 500 hooks each. So occasionally you do want to use these up, otherwise it's possible to lose count. Even on this boat, what will happen, as I've done this by accident before, is I've accidentally baited a 2,500 hook with 1,000 shrimp. I haven't got any more shrimp, so now I cannot bait that hook. If I try and bait that with mackerel, it will say, now I've just baited the top one. Nope, it's not. It's them shrimp bait blocks required. So I've got a feeling it's actually baiting. Yeah, so it's not going to let me bait that one. I'm actually baiting the bucket above it. So that bucket, until I get shrimp, is useless. So especially if you're running a mixture of lines, you want to be careful. Make sure you plan allocating your bait so you don't end up carrying a partly baited bucket home. That's a waste of time. So what we'll do is we'll get underway. With this video I have cut different save games so that I can jump ahead and show you the things I want to show. It's not a continuous playthrough as such. So we're going to jump ahead and we'll get out to the fish habitat and we'll talk about laying long lines. Okay, so we're arrived at the fish habitat now. I'll just zoom out. If we look at the sonar, nothing's showing up at the moment. But what I could do is, as I said, it depends on the lines you've got. I've just drawn a quick navigation to give you some ideas what you could do. At the moment, I don't believe it makes any difference. I think as long as you lay your lines in the fish habitat, you pick up the same amount of fish. But for example, if this actually did represent hotspots, what I would do is perhaps lay a 2,500 hook there, which takes 2.5 kilometers. Then I do another 1,000 line there, and then I probably just run backwards and forwards, up and down. Some people say you could do a spider web pattern, so you're going out and then back in to your chosen habitat. There's lots of ways you can do it. I'm not going to lay lots of lines down. One thing I would like to have a go at, and we're going to see if we can do this experiment together, is that now when the lines are laid, they do drop intermediate white buoys, which I'm just wondering if that would represent where you could then turn. So rather than having to lay in a straight line, you could actually lay a bit of a curve. So what I'm going to do is we'll clear this, and I'm going to head down here, which is about 800 meters. After 600 meters, I will then turn, move across to here, and maybe turn down there, and we'll just see if such a thing is possible. I'm not sure it will be, so we'll just get this thing underway, and then I'll nip down. Normally, again, I'm not sure it makes any difference, but with the sonar I would normally drop the lines by popping up here, just seeing what the sonar's telling me, and if I've got a good read, I'll just carry on laying lines down. So when I'm coming up to the end of each line, I would just pop up here. This has got 2 lines, so you can, as I've said earlier, lay one bucket in, put a second bucket in. As soon as that bucket's used up, you can drop the next bucket. However, what you can't do is once a bucket's in there, you can't remove that bucket. So if you are using a mixture of lines, make sure you're happy with the line you've got. So if I put that there, I can't pick that up now. I have to use it. So we'll drop that over. I'm using the upgraded buoys. We'll talk a little bit more about them later. And roughly every 600 meters we should get a white marker out. So we'll just jump in here. At the moment we've got no sonar, but that's not really a problem. One thing I have noticed is they have actually put bow thrusters on this boat. I actually didn't think they were going to do that. But obviously they've decided to do that. They do work, so it's an interesting thing, because I'm sure they said this was a vintage boat and therefore it wouldn't have modern bow thrusters, but whether they change their mind, I mean, they put the graphic of it in, that actually that control there is the bow thruster control. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll get rid of the entire route for the moment, because I want to measure the distance between the buoys and see what happens. We're actually now getting a right, so the first buoy's dropped, so we'll just come hard left. And we'll just switch that to auto mode, so it holds that course while I just move these route nodes. We'll try and be as accurate as we can. So one there. This one to there. So yep, that's 600. So what we should expect, if this actually works, is after 600, roughly about there, it should drop another buoy. So we're past where we would have expected a buoy to be dropped. However, if I move that route node to there, I think what's happening is it's taking a total, it's going to measure from there directly to there. So that buoy isn't actually representative of where our line is anymore. It's going to draw a direct line, and when it gets to about 1.2 kilometers, it will drop another buoy. That buoy's kind of been forgotten. There we go. So let's just see. So that buoy to there is 0.9, so that is too far. But if I actually take this route and see, that should be about 1.2. Yeah. It's a little bit over, but you can see, so what happens is it's actually really only accounting for a direct line. So that buoy now is completely irrelevant. It's not really representative of where the line is. Really what should happen is that buoy should be dragged, if it's not anchored, across to here. So it's a bit of a shame, because it would have been one way we could have used the 2500 lines, but whether or not you would be able to do that in real life, or whether or not you just lay in straight lines, I'm not sure. Okay, so I thought we'd have a go at that. So anyway, once you've laid your lines, the next bit, the bit everyone complains about, hauling in the lines. So what we'll do is I'll set a few lines and we'll jump forward to that section, and we'll have a quick chat about that. Okay, so what I've done is I've laid down a couple of strands of 1,000 hooks. You see the intermediate buoys in between. You're supposed to soak them for between 14 to 17 hours, so we can click on rest. Certainly if you're getting used to it, it's better to go to the slightly lower side. I don't know how much of an effect it has. I don't know whether or not the lines left too long will actually cause the fish to start escaping and the amount caught to degrade. I'm not sure if they've implemented that. Certainly I think it's a plan of theirs. So what we're going to do, we would just rest for a few hours, but before we, no, we'll do that now actually. Let's rest. I just want to show you the nighttime view, because this is a bit of a bugbear of mine. So it's now dark. I'll switch the front searchlight. It's ready on. Good. It actually doesn't light up the sea, but it will actually illuminate anything in front of the boat, so it will, as the buoy gets close enough, illuminate. Now I'll zoom right in and we'll get a navigation right on this buoy, because I've got the upgraded buoys, and I don't know if it's the screen I have, I don't know if it's the settings I've got, but I would expect fairly clear night to be able to see some sort of light from that buoy. It's not actually that far, but I can't see anything. So we'll try and get a little bit closer to it and we'll see if we can spot it. As I said, it could just be my particular setup. Just cut speed, and if we zoom in, that is actually quite accurate, so I can actually use the nav setting to get me fairly close on top of it. Except the provider doesn't appear to be on for the moment. That might be the swell is causing it to struggle to make its turn, but I think I'm sort of demonstrating the point quite clearly that really, given how close that buoy is, I'd expect to see light flashing out there. I expect to be able to see just a little bit more. I do think they could certainly add a little bit more brightness to it. Very often actually what I will end up doing is I will actually see, I'm not sure why that is just not really turning. It's almost sort of seems to be skidding sideways there. Okay, right. What I'd like to do is I'll try and get onto a buoy because I can show you it will show up on the searchlight. If you get close enough, you'll actually see the orange of the buoy. There it is. So you can see it's actually lit up in the searchlight. So there we can probably home in on it. But if I reverse off, let's just watch that buoy. If I just reverse back, just get it out of sight. And I don't know if it's making any difference to you guys, but I've almost lost it now. I can't actually see the light from that buoy at all, so for me, I can just barely make out, but for me the light flashing, what I'd like it to be is look more like the top light of the mast. You can see that against the background, sticks out like a sore thumb. Even those red and green lights, they certainly look a lot brighter than anything that buoy's producing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump us back forward to daytime and we'll talk about actually just picking up the buoy. Just wanted to show you nighttime. I try and avoid picking them up at nighttime unless it's unavoidable. I try and time it so that we can try and pick them up in the hours of daylight, but we'll just jump forward 7 hours. That should bring us back to daylight, and we've got a nice 14 knot swell. If we look at the top right corner, we can see where the wind's coming from, and we're almost into the wind at the moment. So what I'll do is, I find with this boat the easiest thing is just to drive, try and keep the bow on the buoy, because the physics seem to have been a lot better. So what I do is try and keep it as close to the boat as I can, and then it knocks into the side of the boat, and then I cut the power, and if we can just knock that, I think I may have just, oh no, I've just caught it. So it's now running down the side of the boat. You can see it's going to stay there for quite a while. I'll put it forward up. I would have probably been able to get to that. So we'll just reverse back and we'll come at it again, and we'll actually have a go at picking it up, because I do want to demonstrate gutting. So we'll just reverse. Now how I do this is I actually prefer to go out of this door to this hatch, open it, leave it open, because you actually teleport straight down. As soon as I'm down, I press my hotkey 2, I'm ready to hook that buoy, as opposed to trying to race up and down these stairs. So again, what I'll do is I'll just try and get on that buoy again. So at this point I find it's easier to maybe reverse, put it on full rudder just to try and get the boat roughly lined up. The other thing I find does happen is when you're running, you will hear a sudden swell, a sudden surge of the sea. You can actually hear it, and that normally is going to carry the buoy away. So the idea is we try and get that buoy picked up before that swell really carries it away. So again, we're going into the wind, so hopefully we'll have a little bit more time. I just cut the power, cut the power back, right, and we're in. So we run out here, straight down, select, and we've hooked it. And there's the swell I was talking about. You can see it's pulled the line quite far away, hooking the fish fairly straightforward. I'm only using bait for haddock, but it's interesting to see what sort of fish we get. You see, we're still getting a selection of fish regardless of a bait used. So again, hopefully they will refine that. And then you have to proceed to drop them on the table. Sometimes they wait on the table, other times they just drop straight to the bleeding box. See, that one's just waiting there. And then if I press E, it'll just move them both. Right, so that's that. So what I'll do is very quickly, we'll just transfer the fish down to a production line. I would normally at this point, if I've got a way to go, is set the nav, start heading towards the next buoy while I go down and I gut the fish. But let's just quickly go through gutting. So storage, E to gut. Now what we want to do is actually don't really pay too much attention to these circles. What you do is you put the cursor until it just says hold to gut. You then draw a straight line. It actually doesn't have to be that straight. And again, you're not going to go to that circle. You're just watching for the text below to change release. It says release. And you saw that was actually quite short of a circle, but it gave me 5 stars. Again, full credit to Frozen, who actually helped me out with this, because I was struggling with this. I can understand why I wasn't succeeding in gutting. Press escape. You have to press escape, then you can press to return the fish. We've got a haddock. So again, you see it's hold to gut, but if I place it directly on the circle, and what I'll do is I'll show you, I will actually go directly on the other circle. So it's telling me to release. I'm not going to release. I'm going to go straight onto the other circle. It's actually giving me 5 stars that time. I think it's for pollock and a halibut I really struggled with. Unfortunately, well, we have got a halibut here. Yep, so these ones actually, they're not too bad, but I'll skip through these. It actually doesn't matter if you go off the line by a bit. I'll just have a little squiggle there and see what happens. See, still 5 stars. It's the start and finish, so this is the one I really struggled with. So we'll see what happens. Hold to gut. I'll go all the way along. I would keep going. 1 star. But if I'd released when the text changed, I would have got 5 stars. I might be able to, yeah, I'll demonstrate hopefully on this one. So we just place where it just initially says hold to gut, and what we're going to do, we're going to release it the moment it says release to stop gutting. So just keep going, release, and there you go, 5 stars. So that's the better way to gut. Okay, one thing I'll do is I will quickly jump to a tier 1 vessel, because these big boats, they seem to have better physics, so you can nudge in alongside. They seem to have a little bit of better control. Obviously I should have pointed out, you then store your fish in a bucket and then store them. It's not too hard. I mean, every fish I think goes in a mixed bucket, so if you don't want to mess around, you can just throw them all in there. They'll all go the same way. So what I'll do is I'll just jump to a tier 1 boat and we'll have a go, because I've got a feeling maybe this might be a little bit more difficult. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, so here we are in the tier 1 fishing vessel. Now, it's been a while since I've done this, but what I found easier was to actually reverse onto these and then cut the power, maybe almost push it forward if you need to cut the power extra quick, and then you would get on there. The other thing I found on this boat, I found it much easier to just put the rudder to auto. So it basically means as soon as you let go of the rudder, it will center. So I'd reverse back, it centers. I can focus more on my throttle and kick power. It does have a little bit better physics than I remember, but you can see I can just about get onto it. I've only got 4 knot wind, so I do appreciate that's making life a lot easier. But if I go past, the best thing is actually to go forward a little bit and then just reverse. I actually found it much easier to reverse onto this a little bit. There we go. And then what you would do is quickly press F, press 2, run across the hair and hopefully catch it. I'm going to be honest, I actually find it much easier on the tier 3 boat. Certainly I don't think this is particularly realistic. You've got to kind of work out if it's going to go on or not. If you're going to get onto it and then sort of anticipate just run out. You haven't got as far to run, but certainly it's a lot harder. So there we go. Jump out, hit 2, run, hit, and it's off again. So it's been a while since I've actually used the tier 1 fishing vessel, so it does seem a shame because obviously the level of frustration people will feel will be massive, and this is their first experience. It could put people off trying to do this longline fishing permanently, which is a shame because on the bigger boats it's much better. Maybe have a system where they could let you anchor up either side, but certainly going forward onto it just does not seem to be as manoeuvrable as the tier 3 boat. You're flung all over the place, so I'm at full rudder there, even at full power. It sort of skids round to it. I can understand why people get frustrated, but I will say if you persevere, you do get a feel for when it's going to work by reversing onto it. And as I said, if you point your boat directly into the wind, that can probably buy you a little bit of time. So you see, I'll reverse it. Got it. And on the tier 1, you don't do any sort of gutting. I think you just pull the fish in and they're stored. But there you go. I haven't actually rested here, so it'll actually be quite interesting to see if any fish are caught at all, if it's made any difference. Because I've literally just laid this line down, and it does look like you have to rest, otherwise you won't catch anything. Yeah, so anyhow, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump back to port on the tier 3 after I've got a load of fish, and I'm just going to talk about, oh, is that, we've actually caught something there. Crikey, that was eager. He must have literally jumped on as soon as you dropped the line. So I'm going to jump back to a port. If you don't hook these incidentally, you will still get fish, you just lose a little bit of a bonus. You don't get as much. So okay, or maybe you do lose a fish. That's strange, it's not there. I'd expected that fish to appear in my inventory, but okay, maybe you do have to hook them, or you don't catch any, or maybe it was just such a low amount of fish that not hooking it means you don't catch anything. As I said, I haven't waited. I literally laid that line out and then pulled it straight back in just to demonstrate getting onto that line. Anyway, as I said, I'll jump back to port now and I'll just show you a little bug there is with selling fish and a way we can get around it. Okay, so I'll speak to you soon. And okay, so we're back at port. We've actually got a fairly large catch, quite a few tons there. So we go in. This is all the price, the highest quality, low quality, the size of the fish. Generally, what you're going to do is sell all. So I've got 5 million for this. So click sell all. and there's a bug. You can see not all the fish have been sold, and if you click sell all, sometimes some more will sell, but nothing's happening. So one of the things we can do is we just hold this button down and we will let this go up to about 350. So I will jump forward. I won't make you sit there and watch while I hold this down. Okay, so we've gone over 350. We click sell fish. It will sell those fish. Then try and sell all fish, and you can see it sold it. It doesn't always work the first time. If it doesn't work, just hold the button. Just do another sort of 350 to 400 fish, and click it again. If it doesn't work, do it again. Eventually, you're not going to have to hold down for 12,000. And most I've had to do it was 2 or 3 times, and eventually it would sell all the fish, and you do get your money. Again, I give credit to Frozen, who put me on the right track to solve this problem, because I found it very frustrating when I thought I might have to click 12,000 times to sell 12,000 fish, but no, you don't need to. Hopefully it's a bug that will get resolved. Okay, so that's the end of this video. I hope it's given you some ideas, some hints and tips. Any suggestions, any comments, please leave below. But as always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you again soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye.